Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar on powering automation and business processes with Microsoft 365, Office 365, Microsoft 365, Teams, SharePoint, how to power automation and business processes using our NITRO Studio. So we're going to take a deep dive into NITRO Studio. Some other webinars we do are more high level or comparison to other tools such as Power Platform or talking about InfoPath replacement. We have those webinars on our website already as recordings, but today we're going to be talking about NITRO Studio specifically and take a deep dive into it. NITRO Studio was developed by Crow Canyon over the last, well, probably 6 or 7 years, and it's our product, it's our tool that's used by many organizations around the world to build business process automation solutions, both on SharePoint on premises, but now more and more on Office 365 or Microsoft 365, if you want to call it that, and Teams. So let me introduce myself. I am, come on slides, there we go. I am Scott Restivo. I've been president, CEO, founder of the company. We started in 1999 and we're still going quite strong. With all the changes Microsoft goes through, we followed it along. I've been head of the company. We also have Jeff Priest on board with us, our COO. He will be helping with answering questions, and Krista's our marketing. So, a few other people helping me out here, and we'd be glad to answer any questions that may come up. Now, the questions are in a question box on your GoToWebinar panel, and you can just enter questions there. And we try to get them, most times we're successful getting into them during the webinar. But if not, we'll answer them by email after if necessary as it goes. But we really welcome your questions. We really like to set up one-on-one demos, find out what your issues, problems, story is about, and go from there. Work with it. We work quite close with our customers. Now, Jeff and I just got back from the Microsoft 365 conference in Las Vegas. We were just there. Actually, we just flew back yesterday. And I flew back, Jeff drove. But the point is that it was a great conference, a lot of interesting material from Microsoft. We met a lot of our customers there. We've had some hopefully new customers. So there's a lot really happening in the Microsoft world, particularly in the Office 365 space with Teams and Viva and Teams Premium and all that. In fact, we're going to have a webinar with our partners, Rencor. Rencor's Teams governance people, and we're going to have a webinar with them next week. That's a kind of recap of this the new changes that are coming out both from Ignite and from this conference. So we'll hopefully you'll join. Let me here I'm promoting another webinar even on this webinar, but the point is that it's a lot of information coming out. There's a lot of changes going on, and here's the webinar coming up, and there's a lot of changes going on and a lot of new and exciting things going on with Microsoft and the Teams and where they're going with this. So hopefully you'll be able to join this webinar on next week on the 14th. So it's like, what, a week from Wednesday, I guess. So a little early in the morning because we have our Rencor, our partners over in Germany, so they want to have it a little bit earlier. All right, what's Crow Canyon Software? Well, we've been around, like I said, since 1999. We're building business applications. I'm behind thousands and thousands of customers we've worked with over the years. It's just an amazing story, really interesting. Big companies that are well known, small little organizations all around the world. Let's say every country, of course, but most countries, many countries. And that's what we do. And then we have a set of business applications that are ready to go out of the box, like help desk, purchasing, contract management, work orders, equipment. And sometimes people take that and they, just want a solution that's going to be fitting for their particular problem they're trying to solve. But we also run those applications on our NITRO Studio, and the NITRO Studio can be taken as a forms and workflow platform, so you can build your own solutions. There's many solutions that are very particular to an organization, or maybe they were done in emails or spreadsheets or InfoPath forms or other Lotus Notes, other form solutions, and now they want to bring it in, and the applications out of the box may not exactly fit the requirement, so then you can build from scratch with NITRO Studio, some kind of importing, or take one of ours and existing applications and modify it. So we're here to help out. We're here to talk about what your issues, questions are, problems, what you're trying to do, and help you drive towards digital transformation, towards modernizing operations, streamlining, and getting on board with the whole innovative sequence of innovative story that Microsoft's putting out there, and what you can do with this is really quite something. So we also have chatbots in MS, from Microsoft Teams. There was a lot of talk about AI and automation going on at this conference, and our chatbots are following along with that, using Azure AI services and natural language processing and all that. In fact, that's a good for Krista there in marketing. Let's mark that down as a possible webinar early in Q1 of 2003. Is do one on the AI stuff that's going on. And, okay, all our products run in Office 365, including the GCC and GCC High. Of course, they run in the commercial, which most people are in, but the GCC is the government cloud, and GCC High is highly secure government cloud, and we run in products and all that, whether it's application or NITRO Studio. Also SharePoint 2013, 16, 19, and the newest one, SE. Those are on-premises versions. We're running there. Now, what we want to do is pop up a quick poll just to see where we're at as far as you guys go. I'll launch a poll on what version of SharePoint you're using. There we go. And hopefully give you a few minutes, well, not even a few, just a minute or two to answer that. You don't mind taking the time to check off. You get multiple choice if you want to go ahead. Now, that launched there, Jeff, did you see it? Or there we go. Yeah. Kind of get a sense of where people are at so I can gear the poll, the webinar towards where people are, what people are doing here. Your results come in, it's kind of like almost like a 50-50 split between the earlier version of SharePoint and the Office 365 commercial. So again, a pretty even split. Now this is interesting because when we were at the conference, talked to numerous people. Many people are in the migration from on-premises to Office 365. So they have a little of both, but they're really starting to take this, make this move. And we're glad to talk to a lot of them. We can help out. We have partners who can help out. We have, all kinds of resources. We've done this numerous times moving over there. So I'm going to close this poll and just note that about half the crowd, you guys are on commercial. There's a few people on GCC High, and there's a few people, maybe 1/3 are on the SharePoint 2016 or earlier. Interestingly enough, nobody's on SharePoint 2013 or SE, but people are on 2016 or earlier. A good almost 40% of the responses were there, whereas just about 50 are on Office 365 commercial. Okay, I'm going to close that poll and move over to just one quick question. Are you in the process of migrating? And I came up with this question because so many people came up to our booth at the show and were asking this very, very same thing. Are you in the process of migrating? Of course, if you're already on Office 365, there's no migration, but it's surprised me how many people are still migrating from on-premises. Don't feel alone on that. There's a lot of that going on. So and here's interesting. Some people here, about 1/3, are saying they have no plans to migrate to Office 365, which is really good news because our NITRO Studio works just as well on premises as it does on Office 365. Now the thing is, if you're on premises, of course, there's no Teams and that kind of stuff, but everything else, the forms, the workflows, the reporting, portals, very powerful tool. And Power Platform does not work on Office 365. So if you're in the boat where you're not going to migrate to Office 365, we're definitely ones to talk to. Now, about 2/3 are already on Office 365. 10%-ish are in the initial stages, actively migrating. So, thank you very much for taking part in that. Good responses. I'll go over that again. About 10% each actively migrating, initial stages. 25% are no plans to migrate, and then about 60% are roughly are already on it. So good, that helped a lot to guide where to go next with this webinar. So let's jump right into it and talk about NITRO Studio. So platform creation, application creation, Office 365, Teams, and SharePoint. Now, if you're just on SharePoint on premises, perfectly fine. It works very, very well there. But if you're in Office 365, you get opportunity to use the Teams bots and the chat bot. We get really good reviews and connections from our customers. One customer is particularly enthusiastic about it. She loves her job again because it just really made it interesting and creative. People like to make things. They like to create things and have tools that can make that happen. And NITRO Studio allows you to go from just basic SharePoint or basic form to something really interesting and powerful. And then you create it yourself. It's very satisfying, I have to say. And one of the reasons I like working and helping to build NITRO Studio more and more is it's a great tool for people and really get that kind of feedback where they love their job. It's very encouraging. We had people come up to us at the booth, very highly enthusiastic about the product and using it, and hung out with them after, and it was a good time. All right, so NITRO Studio, affordable, easy to use, comprehensive, world class. Okay, affordable. It's in a good price range. It's not so super high expensive. There's other tools out there super expensive. Easy to use. We have a lot of training and resources. Comprehensive in the sense includes forms, workflows, reporting, and if you're on Office 365, the bot. And we pride ourselves on our world-class support and training, which we're always trying to do the best we can and provide support 24/7. We have support groups in US, in India, Costa Rica. So we're cover our worldwide population. So what's in NITRO Studio? Well, there's a forms designer. I'll show you that in a moment. You can create these really nice looking forms with a lot of color and attractive, because you have to empower the users, engage the users. They have to use the forms. We have a workflow designer that's a visual where you can just go drag and drop and move things on and make up these workflows and give them branches and all kinds of interesting things that you can do to make you really fit. Now, these can be simple workflows and or more complex, and you can use so many different actions that you want to do that. Whether you want to send an email, a text, you want to invoke a web service, an Azure function, whether you even want to invoke a Power Automate, if you want to do that, or an old SharePoint workflow that you don't want to recreate, you can go to create generate documents and all kinds of interesting things. So you can have a simple one or more complex with multiple gateways and things. Interesting. And then we have our NITRO Engage bot, where you can be in Teams and then work through a knowledge base articles or make requests for purchasing and all that kind of stuff. So what I want to do is show you the program in action, and also encourage people to talk to us directly and maybe set up a demo and find out, because a lot of times there's particular needs and particular requirements that you wonder, can it do this or can it do that? Hey, Jeff, you keeping an eye on any questions there?
Yeah, right now so far I think everyone's just listening, kind of getting that for the demo. I'm sure they'll come.
Yeah. Feel free to pop in if there's questions, all right? I mean, somebody let me know, right? Okay, I'll keep that. Okay, so then another quote about how intuitive and user-friendly set of tools, non-technical users, automating a whole QA process, which was it's for a food company. They have a QA process and they wanted to automate it using NITRO Studio, and they found it quite easy, intuitive, user-friendly, non-technical. And then, as I mentioned, we have a number of support resources, and known for providing high-level support. Chat, we have an online, you can support chat. We have ticketing system, of course, email, a forum where people put in questions. And we're starting to adopt this name called NITRO Nauts, people who've gone through the training and really got experience and participated in the forum. And it's a great community. It's really good to be part of the NITRO Studio movement, the movement towards digital transformation and automation and all that, and a lot of fun. So here we are. So let's go into the demo now, and enough with the slides. I'm not big into endless slides here. What else? We have a contact us. Well, you can find on our website information on that. And I'll just get off that PowerPoint for the moment. It's a scene, California coastal scene, but now we'll move over to, now just to show you around our website, and easy enough, if you want to find our NITRO Studios right there on the link, there's information on pricing, and there's overview here of NITRO Studio, go through some of the you can request a demo and go through that. And also there's a number of resources where you have webinars coming up and in-person events, such as the one we were just at a few days ago. Okay, move that out and move the other one in here. So let's bring in this screen here, not this, all this stuff. This right here, I'll get rid of that. Okay, so let's Let's go to a system that's already been developed somewhat in NITRO Studio. This is an access request system. You start with a simple list, just a SharePoint list. Then you start building forms on top of it and workflows, and all of a sudden you have an access request system that can handle whatever kind of request you want to make there. There's requests for access to a building or access to a database system, access to whatever whatever you need access to. And in the same idea of the request management can take place, whether it's ordering ordering something, or whether it's putting up a leave request. You want to take vacation, or you request. I mean, request management, let's face it, is one of the prime reasons that people send in emails, or they're using some kind of they need some kind of organization in with. So request management's one. The other is incident management with help desk. Another one is just questions about things or ordering. So anyways, this is one example of like a NITRO form that's really dressed out, probably a little too much actually, but what it does is it shows you that you have these nice looking forms with a lot of buttons on it, and really provide a lot of capabilities. Now the thing is, how is this done? Well, it's done inside our NITRO Studio here. You can either go through it to the back end, or just right up here is NITRO Forms. And if I click that, it's going to show you the forms designer for this particular list, this form. You have multiple forms on the list. You can manage the forms, you can import, export forms, do all kinds of things. And if you're in some legacy program, whether you use Lotus Notes or InfoPath or things like that, we have ways to move those over and help with that migration process. In fact, quite a number of people did come up and mention at the booth at Vegas, I'm talking about, did mention that they were still using InfoPath, and I think someone also mentioned Lotus Notes. And the question is, how do you move off those old legacy programs? And they are old and legacy. InfoPath was deprecated and stopped development way back in 2013. It's almost 10 years now, but people are still using the forms. One woman came up and she had over 500 forms InfoPath forms that she has to migrate. So if that's her story, I said, she's got to she's got to work with us to get those forms migrated, because we have a whole process and way to doing that. But even if you just want to create it from scratch, maybe use an email or a spreadsheet now, and you just want to move it over, then it's easy to do. Okay, so here's our forms designer. You can see there's a ribbon at the top. You can preview. You can do previewing the form as you create it in different formats. You choose what form you want to. You want a form? It doesn't matter. Okay, what form you want to? What format? What aspect you want to do? This is desktop, tablet, mobile. You can do different, and then design it appropriately. You can save it, publish it, move off, cancel it. You can copy the URL of this form and send it out to users. You can use the same form for new, edit, and display. There's 3 modes that SharePoint has, or use separate forms for new, edit, and display. This one is separated, so there's a designing the new one, designing the edit form, designing the display one. You go right to list settings, and this right here, create column, is quite a amazing feature, because you got all your standard columns, just like you would if you do a choice or a yes, no, or multiple line of text field. But you also have your specific NITRO ones that we developed as needed by our customers, or just our own applications over the years. We built up all these different kinds of NITRO specific columns, including a lookup column that can go cross-site, associated items, some people call it repeating rows, signature column to e-sign documents. You can move the attachments column around if you want to put, say, the attachment column up here instead of how it's normally way down the bottom. You can move it up here, load a file. It's more appropriate when it's next to certain fields. It might be more appropriate to have there. Tags columns, QR codes, barcodes, those are used in our asset management program. Discussion column, and then we have a bunch of managed columns. And what are managed columns? As I say, this is in-depth into NITRO Studio. Some go a little more than in a normal webinar. But these are, a managed column is where you might have first name, last name on the form, but then it concatenates them and makes what it writes to the actual database, the SharePoint list or the database, is the concatenation of first and last name together. And you also so you don't have to record everything in the SharePoint list or the database. You can do things that are like choices on the fly and then concatenated or calculated or moved along in that way. So there's a number of amazing features like this in here, very powerful. And what people find is when you have a particular problem you're trying to solve, or a particular thing you need to have done in the form, we built a lot in here, a lot under the covers on how to do this, and we'll work with you closely to show you how to do it and find out what you need on there. Let's just finish the top row here. We have variables, and we have manage forms where you can import, export forms, and do all kinds of import themes, override forms, all kinds of things that get really useful functionality out of your forms. And some people ask, can you do like forms from one list to another? Yeah, you import it, export it out of this, import it into the other. Schema has to be the same, or at least the fields you have on the form have to be the same. So, but it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible to import and export. So then there are a lot of options on the left side panel right here. You have your layouts and themes. You have different themes. You can create themes. You can do different colors and all that. And it gives you a lot of capabilities on how the form's going to look on that. So just to segue for a moment into themes, in our global settings, there are themes that you can create your own theme and or configure an existing one, and it gives you all ways to put how you want the form layout, the column layout, the colors, the back colors, different sections, different controls, what they look like, what the linked items grid looks like, buttons, whether you want to curve it with a border radius or how you want to do a gradient and things like that. So you can configure themes that are specific to your organization if you need to. And once it's available, and you can go back and edit it if you want, but then it's right here. You can say, okay, what theme we want to use, default, purchasing, So we give you a number of them out of the box, other ones you might create specifically. And that guides how the form looks, such as have this curve on the section or things like that. Okay, then further along this list, you can group this by tabs, which these are tabs right now, or sections. Sections are where they're like this, where they're just one after the other and collapse or not collapse, depending on how you want to expand it when the form opens. Let's go back to tabs now. And you can go how your buttons, you can hide the save button, hide the cancel button, and then put your own buttons down the bottom here of this form, such as submit. Maybe you want to hide the save button and just have submit button. So you can do that. And where they're going to show up, are they going on the right, the left, the middle, these buttons, how big it is, all these other things that get a little more technical. Well, you see you have a lot of control, amazing control over the UI. And not only the UI, what happens when the form is submitted is also very important too. So you have submit buttons. I'll show you this now on the buttons. This is one type of button. So you say, oh, what's the title of it? What does it look like? Is there some kind of script to put together? And you can even have who can see the button, who doesn't see it, what the button looks like, and then what kind of function it does is, of course, what's important, pre-save process, and what custom action it's going to run when the user clicks the button. And that's where we get into our custom actions, which are intimately tied to the form's designer. The form is just a form. What are you sitting there recording data? No, you don't want to just record data. You want to do something with it. And maybe sometimes you want to record data. Most of the time you want to do something with a request or an issue or an incident where you move it along by using these buttons that are on there. Now, to me, that's the heart of automation, is that when something happens, you're automatically have a whole set of other processes take place. Say a ticket submitted, a request is submitted like this. Well, you want to notify the manager for approval. You may want to notify the DBA if the database submitted access request. You might want to notify the facilities manager. You want to notify the end user that you got the request in the first place. If the request just sits there unanswered for some period of time, you can automatically escalate it with our workflow. And when it is approved by the manager, then a whole nother set of workflows run. And that's what it is. It's what automation's all about, is that you're taking information in and then using the powerful capabilities, whether it's our NITRO Studio or another program, to move that request along. And you can set all that up and have a lot of control over it using our workflows and custom actions. I'll get to in a minute, because right now I'm focusing mostly on the forms design itself here. Now we have forms controls where you can add a tab. You can put like HTML that says up at the top, put a table in. You can add new columns, place them anywhere. You just drag it over. If you want the contact phone right there, just drop it in. There it is. And And you know, add a new create a column, then it shows up here, drag it right in. So while you're sitting there, you can create the form and make it look how you want. You can add different actions in. You can do advanced settings like autofill user information based on the request there. You can connect to outside databases and pull that information in. And then you can do the advanced stuff if you want to get into custom Java, custom CSS, and other type things that are, you know, more for the advanced user, but definitely add a huge amount of possibilities and capabilities to the form, to the functionality of the form. Now, this is arranged in a simple kind of form layout where there's a label on the left and column on the right. I mean, you know, the value field, but you can do it many other ways. Here's with 2 columns. Here's one with, you know, different arrangements of the forms. Here's one with repeating rows, hide or not hide that row. Here's one with a table. Here's one with a signature field. Here's one where it's laid out really in a like 3 row. I mean, it's laid out in a way that maybe is attractive if you want to do it that way. In records, there's another kind of table. So many things you can do. Not only that, you can hide and show different parts of it. You can have cascaded lookups. You can have information pulled in automatically. Let me show you in the form itself some of those capabilities if I were to open up a new form right here. Now, look at this way. We all know you're not going to add you don't need all this stuff in every form. I'm just saying there's these possibilities, and you have the power to do this. That's what's great about it is you use our NITRO Forms Designer, and you're able to create the forms you need and showing up the way you want. So, of course, there's a title here. Now, here's interesting. You can what type of change? This just shows you dynamic capabilities. Now, let me remind people that this can also work on the mobile. This works on mobile. So, you know, here I am clicking on a desktop, but just as well on a mobile device. So you go add, okay, it wants me to fill in title. Okay, let's put that title in there for a moment. Add. So you got to see if a field's required, you can make it so people have to do it. So here we go. Now, when I clicked add, it's asking, okay, you're adding access. So is it perpetual access? Is it temporary access? When do you want to start? When do you want to end? All these kind of things. And you can make sure that the dates are all lined up right? That you don't have, you know, end date before the start date or something silly like that. So then if you're just going to modify, you don't need to add, or you're going to revoke permissions, you know, just to show you a kind of example of how you can make the form really work for the end user quite well. Then you also have your drop list here, cascading list. So maybe you're going to access to a database, and then we're going to go to SQL, right? So the thing is, notice right here is no SQL tab up here. Okay, so when I go here, it's going to show up an SQL tab. So that information is required when you're doing SQL because you want to know what database and server name and what level of permissions, who the DBA is. If you fill in DBA, that person's going to get a notice that there's been a request for data access to the SQL database. Now, I hope I'm stimulating ideas. If you have your particular thing you want to do, I mean, obviously, not everyone, or maybe none of you are doing access request at the moment. But you got to use in our imagination to expand this to other realms. You can see that purchasing or asset management or help desk or anything like that could use these kind of features to make it a very functional and useful form. So let's see what we're doing. Oh, the other thing here is like, look at this. And this is kind of like displaying a number of, you know, it's like a model house or something where you have all the different types of kitchen you can have or something like that. So here we go, contractor, employee. Well, for an employee, you're going to get the employee name and who his or her manager is. That's going to be pulled in from Active Directory. Or if the contractor, though, you can go out to this contractors list or a database, but this happens to be a list in SharePoint. And now you're having what company? You're just going to choose this person, and it's going to fill in the company and the rep and any other information you want about that. But if it's an employee, you don't have to. So you can take different routes in your workflows based on different choices here. So in your workflow designer, you say in the decision point, you say, if this request is for an employee, do this. If the request is for a contractor, do that. If it's add or modify or revoke, it takes different paths in your workflow. So it's quite interesting. Now, before I go on to the workflows, I do want to show you that there's this task capability, and you have several ways of doing repeating. You know, you can like hide and show columns like that. But if you do want to do a new task, you could go right here and do it. Now let's cancel this and find one of the ones that already exist. So we can show you some tasks that are on there with the let me see, where's the task? Oh, this one's set up as So it doesn't have any associated tasks. All right, well, let's create one then. So when you say I want a new task or new item here, you say task name. Let's just say update database. And whatever else you want to put on here, you want a priority, assign it to somebody and all that. But just for now, to show you that it shows up right here, and now you can edit it or delete it, and this will have its own form and cycle of activity where the person gets notified that they've been assigned the form. They're going to be given a due date. If it reaches the due date and hasn't been done, it can escalate it. And so, and then of course they're tied to the main form. This access request right here, number 44, has these maybe one or more tasks on it, and maybe when all those tasks are complete, you notify the owner of this form that they're all complete, or you automatically close it. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. Now you also see here that there are different buttons at the top that are going to launch those workflows, and we'll go into that right now. Also different options up here. It depends where you want to put the different actions people can take, whether on a button or something on the list ribbon. All that's configurable in there. So let's go over to that part of this access request system, the example we're doing right here. So underlying this whole system is our NITRO Studio, this one right here, access request system. And you have all these tools. We went to NITRO Forms and looked at the NITRO Forms Designer, but there's also NITRO Workflows, reporting, portals, there's advanced approvals, there's branding, there's custom actions, there's email and text sync using either emails or SMS text, email manager, an ID column. You can link items, format the list, roll up the list, search the list, view the list in print manager, as well as tiles and dials. And if you're on Office 365, you get AI, services, bots, modern parts, and Teams integration. So this all comes with the NITRO Studio and gives you quite a number of capabilities. So let's look at the custom actions now. Custom actions are where those buttons on the form that I just looked at are going to take place, and you're going to define what that process is with the custom actions. Now you can get the custom actions through your NITRO Studio screen, which is right here. You can get to this screen, either have a link on the left, or which is of course only available to certain people, or you can go through our application, site contents and application administration, and get to it there. Or alternatively, you can be right here in access request, go here and go to custom actions or NITRO Forms directly. So kind of your choice on how you want to access it and what you're familiar with. Another way of accessing is go here to the continue without save, go to the actual form designer and work with the buttons from there. Yeah, sorry, this one I meant. And go from here, and then you'll see that you have access to the custom action screens right here. All go to the same place, and that place is right here, custom actions. And we'll take a look at that and what's been designed. So you have a number of custom, let's see, no, I'm in the wrong program here. I'm in the wrong site. So now I'm back in access requests, and you see all the custom actions that are listed here. You can do it by list name, or just list them all without a name, or you have different ways of listing and sorting and grouping. Again, you can export and import actions. You create a new one. So let's look at one: update due date of child tickets. Okay, is what list name it is. It was published. You can edit, delete it, export action, export it, or look at debugging. You have a debugging capability. The same in our workflows and our custom actions have that capability. Incredibly useful. So here we go. This is going to query the task list. It's going to find out what is the underlying, what are the underlying tasks that are associated with this. Then it's going to update those. Once it finds that list, it's going to update them with whatever you want to update it with, which would be probably a due date, since that's what it says. It says update the due date. In other words, give this task the same due date as the due date in the master or whatever. Now that's just a very simple example of what you can do. So let me show you a little about the Visual Workflow Designer, since we're in that. And people have a lot of, is it fun? Yeah, I think it's fun. Why not? They have fun with this, and they have a good time setting things up, and many capabilities of what you can do. You can have create a gateway to divide up. Well, if it's maybe there's some reason to split it out and say, well, if it's an employer or if it's a SQL server, do this. If it's not, do that. And then you set up other actions. with it, any other actions you want. So you make a decision point here based on some field or some value or some condition on the form or something the user put in. And maybe after that, you want to send an email out to somebody. So you just line it up like this, put the arrow right here, and then you set up the email, who you're going to send it to, what template you're going to send. You set it all up in here. What template, you can design a template or find an existing one. And then you have the ability to, if it makes that decision point, go out here to send email. So for example, you go here and say name, let's just call it employee or contractor. It's like very simple and easy to use. So what's this? Here you go here and label 2, which where it's going to go. And it's a lot. For any user, you're going to say if employee, if oh God, what's that tell you? What was that? I should know. Employer, there it is. Employer contractor equals. Is there any enough to remember what the choices are, because our system tells you. So it's an employee, go to label 1, and if not, go to label 2, right? So label 1 is employee. If the choice made on the form was employee, this is just for labeling it for ease of use, right? You can say yes or no. And this one is for employee. There we go. And this one is for contractor. Like I said, this is in depth more. Normally in these webinars, I don't go into this depth as much. But so now, if you look at this, you're saying if it's an employee, go to employee. If not, go to the contractor. So you can use that imagination, use it for many different purposes, right? Because maybe for an internal process, you want to do different than an external. Employees being internal and contractors being external. Then you could go there, send a me, do different things. I don't know if what I'm doing in this workflow is, I'm just showing you. I don't know why you'd go query it and update it for employee and not for contractors, but whatever. The point here is that you can do many, many different ways of doing that, of setting the forms to go where it should go. Hey, Jeff, any questions yet? Are we got anything going on there? We're good? All right. I guess not. So this is really cool how you can arrange this in many, many different ways.
Sorry, stop. For some reason, the mute button wasn't coming off. But I was saying, no, everyone's been fairly quiet, and maybe perhaps it's just they're interested in watching you go through this. One of the things since I've been listening to you go through this and talk about, at some point you're talking about, our customers, sort of sky's the limit, use your imagination. So, we have customers out there that will, get into, say, the tens or the hundreds of forms, but we have customers who are into the using this, getting to sort of thousands of forms. Of course, as we spread and utilize this throughout the organization, there's all kinds of use cases. For example, sales, on the sales front thing, when you're talking about sales operations and submitting a request for a contract review or a proposal that needs to be, you need to work on with a team, and perhaps, you have an RFP to work on, you gather a team, so you submit a request for that. So you got HR, I need to add my child that was just born, I need to change sort of the status of X, Y, or Z. So, the sky's the limit throughout each department. Today, every organization has some type of request processes. Some of them are very informal, like, turn around saying, hey, I'm taking vacation this Friday, or a paper form, or maybe it's in an existing system like Workday, where they just, submit for time off. But our customers are using this throughout the enterprise, throughout their organizations in so many different ways. I think what you're trying to show here is, look at all the creative possibilities that we have within the system that we've built. We've been at this for a very long time, collected a lot of information from our customers in terms of feedback, and continue to evolve the product. But I just want to say that it's one of those things that, instead of thinking about this as a single process, this is something that, every company has, a multitude of processes, within their company that can be ported over into NITRO Studio.
Yeah, no, it's exactly right, Jeff. And, I try and make this point that we're not just focusing on this one particular style. This is just an example of, look at all the possibilities here, what you can do: add a list item, update, delete. You put your, ideas together. Look, this is just an amazing number of possibilities going on here, including, if you're on Office 365, all this Teams integration, Azure integration, web services, generate. Like you're saying, Jeff, people create amazing solutions. They amaze us what they do with this stuff. And I think what is really important is just the sort of joy in it, or fun of creativity going on here. This is, we all work, we got to make money, et cetera, et cetera. But the point is that you got to have some, joy or creativity to it, some heart to it in a way. And I think NITRO Studio really gives you that ability. Let me show you this. Here's what I was looking at earlier. Look at this. This is just generic contract, list of contracts, right? Who's going to be excited about working with something like this, right? Well, in 10 seconds, 2 seconds, as we say, you can, maybe not. You can come in and turn this into a NITRO form. This is standard out of the box, is what I'm saying. This is what you get out of the box with SharePoint, right? You go here, you say, okay, let's do a NITRO form. It comes up with the NITRO Forms Designer, and you go from whatever the SharePoint thing is. Let's go use same form for a new edit display for the moment. Okay, let's go right here. This is how easy it is. You come in here, you're going to say, add all the columns over here. It added all the columns just like that. You may want to adjust this a little bit, of course, right? But, of course, you got a lot of columns. Okay, you're going to move them around. You're going to adjust. Maybe you're going to put a title at the top. You're going to change the colors. You're going to make it 2 rows instead of 1 row. I mean, I know I changed this a little. If I did, let's just go ahead and publish it. That's like basically it, And now we go back to that new site. Once it's published, in other words, NITRO Studio has been activated on this site. We hadn't put any forms on it yet, but now that we built built a list with a few columns on it, and then we went to NITRO Forms, and let's see if it comes up with sometimes you got to refresh the cache. No, there it is. See, we published it, and now it's coming up with a form that was you remember what we were just looking at a few minutes ago, right? The SharePoint form. Well, now you got all kinds of power to make this look the way you want. And this is just, it does, like Jeff saying, it doesn't matter whether it's contracts, PTO, purchasing, you name it. And hey, Jeff, one thing I really like, at our show was talking to so many people from so many different places, Jamaica, Bahamas, as well, of course, United States, some guy from Australia. I mean, everybody's got these issues of business process automation going on, and everyone's got their unique, whether it's unique situations, finance, government, manufacturing, education, all kinds of, it's fascinating. And we're going to go to that show again in May, have another booth there, because, in some ways, I just enjoy talking to the people about what the business problems are. We're doing this whole work with retirement homes in Australia, doing asset management for them, built on our NITRO Studio. So, okay, so you got this going on, and you say, okay, I want to add another section in here. I'm going to just pop this section in and start manipulating this around. It's like, it's really easy to do this stuff, and once you get to that point, I mean, again, it's going to take a little training, let's be honest, but not that much, that you need. You give it a title, you can say the number of columns is 2, you want the labels to be vertical, and then you're going to put some controls in here. Let's go look here, requester. I know requester is below it, but I want it to look a little prettier. So I'm going to go here and say, okay, we're going to put requester in here. We're going to put requester, continue applying, continue. Okay. We're going to put in the email of the requester. We're going to put in the department of the requester. We're going to put in the requester's phone. Where we go? We put the required email. No, I did email. The department. I'm doing this on the fly, so I'm a little bit. Okay, right there. Move it around right here. So you got department, email, phone right here. Okay. So then we go here and say, look, we don't need them here because they're up there. So I just made it like a 2-column form, right? And then you can go there, and now that's all there, publish again. And you also, if you want to color in here, if you want to like not show any section header, if you want to show a section header, like requester info, you say none, apply all this, publish it again, and then you can publish this form. I'm telling you, it's that easy to do. I mean, we've been doing this a long time, and that's what you're going to start to see is this ease of use and incredible capabilities at your fingertips. And now it should, unless it wants to. No, they see we have this right here, and we could put boxes around it and stuff like that. And like this vendor form seems to be, vendor field, just all kinds of stuff you can do with this. Here we go, right here, with this forms to make it look how you want it to look. So then what you do after that, you start putting on some functionality of a workflow. Okay, when it's submitted, do this. When it's you want to escalate, do that. So you say, okay, let's put a wait a minute, let's put a custom action on this form, and then the custom action, you go over here and you can select what custom, well, none exist yet. So you want to go here to custom actions and start building a custom action, new custom action in our designer model. And now you can put a custom action in quite easily that says, when that's submitted, we're going to send an email or a text to somebody or something like that, kind of a simple, but see how it starts to become very possible. Let's just call it send mail, send email. Doing this quickly, I do a little more refined, where you want it to show up, display form, edit block, print manager, all that. And then you publish it. Oh, I gotta finish figuring the whole template out there, but I'm gonna go through it a little here. Who's it going, who from is from, who it's to, what email template. It's very easy stuff to put in. Anyways, otherwise I'll end up doing all that. And that's the problem, Jeff. That's the problem with these webinars, is that I want to dig into it and start showing all this cool stuff. I want to build stuff, right? You build it, Jeff.
Yeah.
You build stuff, right, all the time, right?
Yeah, so I think once you kind of get in, you kind of start understanding, what you can do. Also, there's always, things that you're learning. Even for us internally, it's our own platform. We're still learning on, what's there, what's capable, sort of the extent of what we can do. So I think that, back to your point about having fun. So this Lori she was a regional airline out in Wisconsin. We did a call with her, kind of, as they went live, and they'd been a few months down the road. Her comment to us was, I was extremely flattering, is that she had mentioned that, using NITRO Studio made her job fun again. So she's been, on the SharePoint side for a long time, working with Infosys. They had thousands of forms they were trying to move over, and it was just, everything was, chaotic and seemed overwhelming. And so that was a huge compliment to us, is that our tool made her life, made working in fun again. So I think that's one of the biggest compliments we've had so far. Yeah, it's fun to build. It's fun to get creative. And most importantly, it's fun to have solutions for your internal customers when they come to you and say, I want to do this. And you say, yeah, we have a tool, we have a platform in which we can do that. I think that's kind of, one of the best things, is just to know that you have a tool set that can solve your internal customers, business problems.
Exactly, and I've only scratched the surface of what's possible here. Let me go a little into administration of it. Basically, you install NITRO Studio into your tenant or farm, just into this app catalog, and then you get a list of, in that site collection, a list of sites, and then you can decide where to activate it or not activate the NITRO Studio. If you activate it in a site, like we activated it in contracts, now I can build forms in this contract. I can do workflows in this contract. I can go in and modify in this contracts list. I can modify things, do a lot of other interesting capabilities, such as, in fact, we didn't even talk about the portal right here. You can do a portal forms and make it like not the back end SharePoint at all, but like this one looks a little ridiculous. I guess it's a very simple one, but you can do these intranet kind of portal things where you can do a new access request right there, where the person doesn't have to engage with SharePoint at all. And the other thing, and this is, this should almost been at the beginning, you can come in here and use the NITRO bot inside of Teams. If you want to, NITRO Engage, we call it, inside of Teams. And if you want to do a purchase request right here, well, you don't even have to type the commands. You can just say new purchase, new purchase, new purchase. Okay, so we buy something new, go to Teams. Now you have this form here that's going to come up asking you what you want to buy and where it's from and all that. And of course, you set all that up with commands, what fields, what list it's working on. It's been a little slow today. I noticed the internet's a little bit slower. It normally comes up a little quicker than that. But it's going to come up with this form called new purchase request. Right here on a mobile device inside of Teams, you can say need a new laptop, need a new laptop. Users don't even have to engage with SharePoint at all at this point. They're going to select hardware, and it's high priority, and it's from the catalog. Let's call it, where's a laptop here? I don't know. Let's just say that. It's not really a laptop, is it? Let's go here. There it is, laptop. And they're in the IT department. Now, the reason you're choosing these things is because there's a different approver for IT department versus for other departments. And you want 1,500 of them. No, we'll just say one of them. And you submit it, and then it goes over to the approval process of the manager, whatever process you have in the back end. But from the end user's point of view, they don't even know what's going on. This is part of NITRO Studio, NITRO Engage, at least for the Office 365, Microsoft 365 crowd, is that you can put this in. And this is all part of our, if you look here in our NITRO Studio, under this one right here, where is it? Well, it doesn't matter which one really. There is a bots option. So you can go here and configure your bot. It's, we're gonna have to name that to NITRO Engage. We keep calling it the bot, but that's really the NITRO Engage setup right there. And it has a list of commands on how you're gonna set all that up and what's gonna go on with that. Somebody call it sometime. All right, so coming up with the bot commands and how you do this bot. You have different kinds of applications you use the bot in. Self-service bot, staff support bot, all these different bots. And then you can do a new bot application and configure the commands for the bots and what's going to happen for people who use it inside a team. So there's a big Teams integration story going on here. We also have in our custom actions, if you look at that new custom action there that we were talking about, you'll see that there's a number of options to send cards or adaptive cards, or messages really, cards, open up a channel, post a card into the Teams interface. And so now what we can do with NITRO, the person will see these cards show up, telling them, like, look at this one right up above from an earlier demo where they got this card and it says, add a note, reassign, resolve the ticket. So there's a lot, the amount of power of NITRO Studio between running in SharePoint, running in a portal, running in the Teams environment, it's just endless possibilities. Either whether you're like in the simplest, like I just send in an email, and you just don't want to engage with anything. Just want to, we have a lot with the residents of the retirement homes or people, government stuff. They just want to send in an email, hey, it's broke, or I need this, or buy me that. And okay, we convert it to a ticket or request into our system, and maybe on the back end you're using the SharePoint side of things, but the end user doesn't, or the end user maybe submits it through the Engage bot in Teams or through an SMS text, and then also the technicians or the administrators can come in and work on the issue. If maybe it says approve, disapprove, or deny, whatever, you can do actual work. Isn't that funny? Actual work inside of the environment. Now, one thing inside of whatever environment works best for you, email, text, Teams, portals, SharePoint. We had to make, Jeff, we had to make it that flexible because that's what people are asking us for, right? I mean, that's the story. They ask us for it, so we deliver. I mean, the bottom line is we work for our customers, right? There was something I was going to, printing. I want, what's that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think the evolution of the product has been based primarily on, of course, all of our internal, research that we do with the competitive landscape, but, primarily through customers. In fact, going back to that one customer, Lori, that I mentioned at the airlines, one of the comments she made in that call was that it's really encouraging to see that when she submitted feedback in terms of something she needed or what she'd like to see is in our releases of new features that she sees her suggestions, in there as things that we have done as enhancements. So I think it's, we really do listen to our customers. We know that, based on their feedback,
that forum,
the forum as well, our customers, and you kind of on their own, we have our customers going in, kind of excited about NITRO, going in and answering questions of other customers, contributing, in terms of what they're doing and how they're using it, or challenges, right? And then having other colleagues, peers out there helping to for them to resolve those as well. But yeah, it's very, our customers and what they're doing out there, real world, real time. We're very interested in that. We're not trying to build solutions that we think our customers want. We go out and engage with our customers intimately and know, by way of their feedback as to what they really need. So.
Exactly right. Now that we only have a few minutes left, but I want to show a couple more things. First, I want to encourage everyone who's interested in a more in-depth demo, get in touch, sales@crocaine.com, or send an email to us, whatever way. But I also want to show this whole thing about document generation, which is a real weakness in the Power Platform anyway. But for us, it's a vital part. We can generate any kind of document based on a Word template, Excel template, or even a template you design in our template designer. You can generate a quote, and then when you generate that, it can attach it to the form, and then you can do something like save all attachments to OneDrive. Make it a point that we're fully integrated into the Office 365 world in many different ways. We can, let's see, generate document here, just to show it in action. And we are very much not, we're making your SharePoint, your Office 365, your Teams that much more powerful than it was before. It was, without NITRO Studio, Nitro file. What's it? Get Nitro, got Nitro. See, now there's a certificate of access on this system just because I did generate document. And if I wanted to, I could save that attachment to OneDrive. But if I want to look at what was generated in the PDF, now you have complete control of what gets generated. This is a little wonky, and we probably should work on making a better design for the webinars. But the idea is that you can make the fit whatever kind of generate document you need, and that's all done inside. It's in the right one here. Not going to this one. In the let me go back to the access request system here, and getting all lost in all the things I have. But I'll show you the NITRO print manager. Another great feature. I could go into every one of these features over and over again because there's so much going on here with the capabilities of the NITRO Studio and what we've done. So with getting towards the top of the hour, I want to be respectful of people's times. So I think what we'll do here is give it a rest, and hopefully some of you, and thank you very much for joining the webinar. Anybody has questions, they can pop them in. We'll stay longer, but remember that we're here to help, and we can do a free trial anytime you want to do for NITRO Studio. Yeah.
Real quick. So, question that's come in about InfoPath replacement. So, if we just want to replace InfoPath, how can NITRO Studio help us? And simply just to replace InfoPath.
Oh, any way you want. I mean, it depends. If you have just got one form, well, there's not too much to it, or a few forms. But if you have a lot, we can catalog the forms. We can analyze them for the different status of complexity. We can put them into a project manager. But that's all. It depends how many forms you have, how elaborate you want to go. But basically, what happens is in any kind of form, InfoPath form, there's data, which can be, you got to decide if you want to archive it or you want to just start a greenfield, how you want to use that data. If there's any need to record that data from the InfoPath form, or just take a break, start with a new greenfield NITRO form. Then when you look at the InfoPath form, you have to say, okay, what does it have on it? Let's move that over into NITRO Studio and recreate the same form, or do it better. Because now you have mobile capabilities and other capabilities. The best thing we find with InfoPath replacement, because we've been doing this 5-6 years, and there's such a variation in what people want to do in terms of the number of forms, the type of forms they have, the criticality of the forms, and whether the forms are being used or not used, and how many you want to replace or not replace the forms. Whoever asked the question, hopefully you get in touch with us. Look, it doesn't hurt.
Let me jump in here on this real quick too. So InfoPath, we've been doing this for years now in helping our customers move. Of course, now that it's become more of, for a lot of companies, when Microsoft announced that InfoPath was going away, there's a lot of sort of early adopters. Maybe they felt like they're in panic mode. I don't know, but we had a lot of customers that we worked with to go through that process. So early on, we learned, even before that, we were helping people move off InfoPath. They just simply weren't happy with it, and they wanted to. So we had some early experience, but then we kind of had a mass amount of traffic of customers wanting to move. Things slowed down for a little bit, and then now we're seeing that people are now kind of back exploring, what are the options for InfoPath replacement. For us, it all starts with the initial assessment. What do you have? How do you catalog? How do you look at all of your forms? We have some people we talk to that have, perhaps under 100. We have people in the hundreds. We have people in the thousands. And especially when you have a large amount of forms, it becomes very overwhelming, knowing that potentially you might have to recreate all those forms somewhere else. But we do have a tool that is a scan tool that will go out and look at all of your forms, who created those forms, when was the last time that form was used, how many times that form was used, and then give it a grade. So based on simplicity, all the way from a letter grade of A all the way to F. So A being, hey, this is portable, highly portable. We can just automate that and just move it over and create a new form. To a D or an F saying, this is, we got code behind this. There's a bunch of, sort of custom, actions or workflow that's just going to make the portability of this very difficult. But at least it gives you a chance, and for us to help you understand, how do we build out a strategy on moving off InfoPath, to another tool. So we start there.
The strategy is important. You gotta. It's like you want to. Yeah, you don't just want to randomly do it. You want to have a strategy behind it.
Sure. And then as we start there, we have customers go and look at those forms and say, hey, I want to start with all the easy ones. But, interestingly enough, a lot of our customers say, I want to start with the difficult ones, and attack those and kind of move those forward. But really, it's going to be up to you. But we have a, very like a methodology in which we follow for InfoPath replacement. We have tools in place to simplify it. We have a great tool to land on, which is NITRO Studio, that will help you moving forward. Not only do this migration, but also continue sort of to build out the capabilities around enhancing those forms, improving those forms, et cetera. So,
yeah, it's really a big, in fact, we've done a number of we did a webinar in October on InfoPath migration, and now I'm thinking we should do another one in January, because surprisingly, there are a lot of organizations just finally getting around to seeing the limitations of InfoPath forms and the necessity to move to more modern solutions like NITRO Studio. Some people try Power Platform and all that, but they find that there's hidden costs and complexities that don't work, hard to get support, that kind of stuff. So NITRO Studio is a nice replacement for that capability, to give them real power to move off, or whether it's Notes, InfoPath, or anything like that. Yeah. So it's quite fun and quite interesting. All right, so and then we could talk about pricing. We could talk about other capabilities in a one-on-one conversation and get it going on that level. So, I always like to be respectful of people's time and not keep them, on past an hour. We said an hour. So anybody who wants to go more into this, please get in touch. We'll go deeper into the how we can solve your problems and help modernize your business problems and solve the make digital transformation a reality and move into modern forms. I just keep playing with this. I guess I got to end the demo there, Jeff. And I want to keep building stuff.
All right. I think that everybody that's joined, we really appreciate your time and attendance. We'd love to talk to you. I think that as we get in and engage individually with customers in conversations, it becomes interesting in the sense that, customers, everyone has things they want to accomplish. Economy is changing, things are changing, and sort of the employee landscape is changing. And I think that we have a really good story that can help your organization. One is, do a lot of simplification and consolidation from paper to digital, and or even from other types of forms into an actual workspace, as well as helping to engage end users at a better level through surfacing things for teams and other ways they can use the system. But let's guys, if you can, we'll be reaching out to you. You'll see an email follow up from us. And we have future webinars coming up. We'll send a link in there, but we'll also, hope to see if we can't schedule a demo with you. So please let us know.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Thank you, everyone. Well, have a good day and hopefully talk soon. Okay. Have a good Friday, good weekend. And maybe we'll see you at one of the shows, right? Why not? Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. See ya. Bye-bye.